so it's not out yet, but hopefully it will be very soon. I don't remember when the last lecture is. I think it's early enough that you still might come. So I think it's in the first it's in the first week of April. So we begin in Argentina, and the last lecture will end in Copenhagen. The last lecture will be Bjarke Ingels, and then we'll have a lot of other. Yeah, you'll see the poster. It'll be out hopefully soon. So take a look at that. The lecture series, as you know, we do as part of the programming for, it's educational programming. It's like another class. If you come, as you all have, you will learn new things and see people that you haven't probably seen before. If you don't, but that wouldn't be you, then you miss out on lots of good things. So you should tell all the people who didn't come that they missed out on part of their education that they're paying a lot of money for. Yeah. Okay. So, very happy to welcome everybody back. I'm going to give a very brief introduction to the speaker tonight, and he will show his work, and hopefully you will enjoy it. The speaker is, we know in a number of contexts, is Guillermo Banchini. He's from Argentina. He did a professional degree at the National University in Rosario, Argentina, which is arguably, I think many people consider the best architecture school in Argentina. Someone can't get in. It's also the home of Che Guevara. You probably don't know who that is, but you may have a T-shirt with his picture on the front. Guillermo, so he did his professional degree there. He did a post-professional degree at Sci-Arc in Los Angeles. Started a practice there in Rosario, what year? 94. Has been practicing in Rosario since. He also practiced in Los Angeles. Guillermo is an adjunct visiting professor at Pratt in New York City, but he lives in Rosario, and he is a studio professor and has been for about 20 years in the National University in Rosario in Argentina. He also this semester just did a workshop for us in our New York City facility, because we will take a trip with the studios there to Rosario to do a project, and Guillermo has organized a lot of things there. I know him for a long time. Very excited to see his work tonight. I think he's just going to show a lot of projects that he's been designing and building in Argentina, probably some competitions and some other things. But we're very, very happy to have him here. So join me in welcoming Guillermo Banchini.
Hello, I'm really happy to be here tonight. It's a challenge to do a lecture out here. I've been walking around your campus. You have a magnificent campus. And the school, I've been walking around the studios, and it's really interesting the stuff that you are dealing and producing here. Special thanks to all the professors, students, administration, people here in Syracuse for inviting me here. Thank you to Todd Rubin for the sponsor, which allowed for this sponsor and trip to Argentina, South America. And a special thanks for Michael, whose silent generosity allowed me to extend my knowledge. He was the guy helping me to get my master's degree in Los Angeles. So I am here, and 50%, I would say, of this work belongs to you. So if you don't like it, you can punish it. I also make like a shift in the title of the lecture, because first of all, to avoid like assumptions and premeditated questions, I call it contextual flux and material content. Contextual flux is totally related to our context. We been in South America, and I'm going to make an introduction on that. You're going to understand that in a way to operate in our context, you have to, in a way, you have to be involved in the local flux. And in material content refer to, since the beginning, we agreed that we wanted to materialize our work. We want to make it real. We believe in the real. Just to give a sense of our context, this is a picture circa 1930, and it's where the city of Rosario is set. So the city of Rosario is located down there. It's in the center of the country, and it's in the east-west axis of the Mercosur intersection between Brazil, Uruguay, Argentina, and of course Chile. Our main resource is our river. No? This is the Paraná River. This is the main course, and then we have the delta. The delta is 60 kilometers wide. So this is what you're going to be facing when you get to Rosario, downtown Rosario, the river, the island. And this is our context. This is downtown Rosario. This is all the recovered land from the old port in Rosario. Our economy belongs to the idea of how the port developed especially the export of the soya. And we also belong to the pampas, to the horizon, to the flatland. This is part of our landscape around Rosario. It's like 10 minutes from downtown. And of course, as I mentioned, the river. We also belong to, like, we are a kind of young country, you know? We belong to immigration. This is a referential picture of our context. This is back in the 30s. Most of the immigrants are coming from Italy or Spain. Besides the construction that you're gonna, or you can see there, that are taken from the European legacy, classical, Baroque, etc. This is the first kind of development, local architecture is what we call the chorizo house, that is a mix in between the Mediterranean house, the cluster house, and what we call the Pampas house. And it's basically organized, it's a bunch of rooms located along one of the party walls that allow for the appearance of a patio. And the patio, since the beginning, is the patio or the street is the social context of our culture. Everything happens in society. Everything happens around the social contact. This is more or less the sense of our first architecture. And this is the new context. So we have the local back in the 30s, and this is the local. The local is living in between what the new generation is trying to put together in Rosario. So that is our challenge. This is our context now. Against this, the land of the developers. So we are trying to establish our office as critical as possible in order to be around our context and respond to the reality. Sorry. I am not a TV guy, but last fall I was here in New York, and I spent like, it was raining, and I spent like a couple of weeks watching this TV. And I felt like kind of like that, no? I felt, okay, this guy looked like an Argentinian trying to do something. So that's the work of a teacher. I'm gonna leave it this 2 minutes. So early on we make a decision of committing to certain way of practice, to certain architecture. To become, when you become an architect, at some moment you have to make a choice, no? As the guy did. And at that particular moment, without any hesitation, we decided to be as wider, as broad as possible. We decided to engage in more speculative work. And we also decided to commit it to practice, all the way. As I mentioned before, we also decided from the beginning that we wanted to materialize our work, which implied, in some ways, certain constraints.
One more time that you did this.
But also to widen our inspiration and ambition on how the whole relates to part. In order to operate in our society, you have to be, again, as broad as possible, and you have to know about everything, all the aspects of our profession. So this is the way in which we operate. We are a small firm in Rosario. We are like 6 people, 5 people. So the office will be the center. All of us are involved in the academia. All the people who work in my office work also at the University of Rosario, or some of them in Buenos Aires. And this is the client. So we are trying to commit and trying to find a way in a very speculative and contextual way to understand how we can operate trying to put together these 3 legs. And also, we understand the taxonomy of our work by finding an equilibrium in between these, among these 3 parts. The program, side, the analysis, the parameter, the economical situation, context. The collective intelligence, because all the work that we produce in our office is totally linear. I am not although I am the face of the office, or I am in charge of the office, all the work that we produce, we do it all together, and all the decisions we make it together. And the available techniques. By reading our work, because when you have to put together your work, you start reading it back. I understood that we have these 6 main points, Typology, that plays a very important role. Geometry, because our background. Envelope of facade, because right now is kind of, or for some project, is kind of the last political space that we have as an architect to operate. And it's becoming also a challenge because of the new technologies playing one part of the role, and this idea of being green in a way on the other hand. New versus innovative, we always talk about this point, like we don't look for the new, but we want to achieve something that in the end become innovative. We want innovation. Material performance, we always look for the best material performance according to what we are looking for, and of course the assemblage. Also, as part of our inspirational work, these two phrases are part of the background of my office, no? And I think that are, in some ways, are very challenging. We understand that, and this is just a referential thing, we always understand that the work have to be as speculative as it gets, but also we believe in order to do that, you have to be a man of actions. And for that, we want to understand the taxonomy, no? We want to understand how the part relate to the whole. In order to, here I'm going to show many projects. I'm not going to explain all of them. I'm going to just navigate through. But when I have to put it together, like that was last October for another lecture in South America, I try to find like a syntax, like a family. You know? We usually tend to put thinking in terms of family. We figured out that we were dealing with many techniques, and those techniques apply to two different things, either the volume or mass or the surface. So our first topic is panelization, and this was maybe the major or the largest project that we had to deal with. Was a clinic that is in Santa Fe, is like around like 200 kilometers from Rosario, and it was an old hospital that has like 20,000 square feet. That when we saw it, we said we have to demolish this, but how do you tell a client to demolish 20,000 square feet, no? So the challenge for that was to try to recover as much as we can. And in this case, this is what we got. There was a series of rooms aligned along corridors, and there was a sequence of openings or large patios, these three guys. And for the new reconfiguration that have to hold a kind of medical office on one side and kind of psychiatric clinic on the other side, we decided to do our first gesture here was to open some small patios in order to achieve better life, natural life. So we did this operation. And on the other hand, we have to respond to an existing facade that has this eave cantilevering out. So our challenge in here was, here we did a lot of experiments. No? We did with this idea of the aluminum panel, the perforation of the aluminum panel. We did a lot of testing in here. What we wanted to achieve in here was a coherence, an homogeneous piece, making not only a new wrapping for the facade, but also a new configuration for the entrance. And it has two levels of performance, during the day and at night. At night it used to work as a kind of lantern. These are all the operations that we did in order to construct it. As we didn't know how to do the perforation, we teach ourselves on how to use grasshopper. Nobody uses it in Argentina. With a local constructor, we start doing some mock-ups and testing in order to know how to develop. So the whole facade system is wrapping the existing facade. And behind that, we have to demolish all the structural existing system in the lobby in order to acquire this new function inside. This is part of the process. This is a picture. This is not allowed in Argentina to do this cantilevering over the sidewalk, but as it was an existing eave, we were allowed to do it. And those are maybe the consequences that you have when a bus driver make a wrong maneuver the bus and just hit the wall. There was another operation. We have to deal with two entrances and a possibility of dividing this in two different buildings. So the lobby played that role. I want the lobby to play that kind of a special effect. Now you have this perforation that are mimic of the one that we did over the facade, and those lighting are changing colors according to the different use. It's continuous color if it is the two uses are tied together. If this get close, the two of them change the color. We deal with everything, with construction document, project, client, experimental techniques. We have to figure out everything, especially in South America where you don't have the consultant for solving this kind of problem. And that was another task that we, as the building is surrounded by tall buildings, we decided that the roof could become like another facade. So we did like a new treatment over the roof in order to have like a kind of tapestry. This goes to another technique, and this is a work that we did when we were really on 1997. It's a bar in Rosario, already demolished, but we got this existing bar, and the bar has an opening here, kind of skylight, and what we did was to configure kind of lantern on top of that, the wooden lantern behind the skylight, in order to allow for different level of performance behind. This is last year. We did this with we were contacted by a local developer to do like a boat house. The boat house belongs to the city. Everything was set. We have like a footprint, we have a maximum height, and the only thing that we add to this was a technological issue in order to accommodate more boats. And as I mentioned before, the only thing that was left for us to do something different was the facade, where we came with, and have to be economical. So we came with this idea of using, we have experience, we use this aluminum panel, and we create 6 different types of them in order to achieve this kind of kinematic effect over the facade during the day and during the night, with some lighting effect behind. Usually all these projects, this is a real project and we are under like a private competition still going on. It's a public competition. We usually spend like no more than 2 or 3 weeks, either for competition or for like public or open competition or private competitions. This is our goal, to be as fast and as productive as possible. This was another competition we got, like I mentioned here. This was in Rosario to recover like a kind of English old neighborhood that used to belong to the train station. Here we have to do 3 things, 3 tasks. One, to put a program in a public, kind of public bathroom and amenities over an existing park, to extend the sidewalk for the existing housing, to accommodate parking, and to redevelop functionally speaking, this old church. So we extend the sidewalk, we accommodate the program, we did some kiosks in here, we create a continuous pattern for all the tiling on the sidewalk. We hide under this kind of topographical movement, the parking. This street belongs to the housing, and we reshape the existing really small church, have to be reshaped with the new program. It's the Soccer Museum for Rosario. So what we did, as I mentioned before, I'm going to go through all this, as our background belonged to this idea of how the social relate to the city, we just pull the whole program up, free the lower plan, put these 4 offices floating inside the building, and we wanted to create this kind of social hub or space where people, by using the lower part of those floating volumes, would be able to, in a way, to do some research regarding to the soccer history in Rosario. It was another competition for the National Bank in Argentina. This building is in Buenos Aires. It was back in the 2003 when I got back to Argentina. And again, we spent like let's see if it works or not. Anyway, what we did in here, we have to deal with an existing tower and an existing classical building. So let me see if I find it. Let's get there. So what we did in here was, that was the maximum mass. We maneuver our mass in order to leave the same difference as the tower, in order to communicate the two buildings. We make a cutting here in order to allow for the existing patio in the building in the corner to still breathe. And we made the last movement here, like kind of pressing, in order to allow for this piece of attic of the existing building to still live and to be seen, no, from the side. And then the rest is, we also got the mention for this. We didn't get the prize, but we got the mention, no? And then the rest is just office space. As you see, in most of the national competition that we have to deal with is almost construction document. They ask for the requirement for the competitions are really hard. And on top of that, we decided that we wanted to use like a curtain wall system for the whole building and vitreoceramic impression over the glass in order to achieve or to control how the natural light gets inside the office space. This is back in Los Angeles. That is a competition that actually we won. And we did together with Marcelo Spina at Patents. Then it finally didn't get built. But what we basically did in here was to construct or to build like a horizontal infrastructure by following, this was the existing situation in the library, and this is what we proposed. So by communicating two different flows, this infrastructural system in a way became possible just by the mechanical flows of people moving around. There was 2 stages for this, and we have to develop all the parts. So at some moment, as I mentioned at the beginning, at some moment we have to be contextual, and we decided to be contextual. And contextual means that at some moment you are free to do something more speculative, and at some other moment you have to play the game in your situation. So at some moment you have to understand the constraints and try to adjust to that, and try to respond. This is a house back in Rosario in 2004. That is in a gated community outside Rosario. Basically, in every city, you get hired by contact. And this is a friend of mine that called me. He runs, or he's the owner for a concrete company, so he wanted the house made out of concrete. So from the beginning we decided that the house would be like a monocoque piece made out of concrete. And the program requirements were two. One was like to have the whole house in only one floor. The north is this direction, that is our best situation for natural light and ventilation. And the other part of the program that is situated under this piece is the quincho. The quincho is a special place that we use in Rosario. It's like an extension of our living room, but where you have the barbecue place. So if you have guests at your house, you don't bring it into the house, you just use the quincho as a place. So we did this. The idea was to create this kind of monocoque piece that was branching out, creating this gallery in between the house and the quincho, and along that was connected the swimming pool. And also that movement allowed for the introduction of a secondary entrance directly from the street. Some part of the concrete was painted in white, some other part of the concrete that was white decision. So this is the way in which we have a secondary entrance, a main entrance, living room, private space, swimming pool connected. So all these, from the beginning we decided that we wanted to make it look as a one continuous piece, branching out in order to acquire or accommodate the different parts of the program. This is the house that we are building right now. That guy saw the house in the gated community, and he also wanted the house made out of concrete. This is the situation. This is like 3 weeks ago, maybe. So we have this plot with a special restriction about the footprint, and the program was really large. The guy also wanted like a quincho. And because of a setback, and also the requirement of a patio, this is what we have to do now. We have to put the house into stories. So that creates like a large, heavy mass that didn't allow for, from our point of view, for really nice natural light and ventilation. So we did we improved a couple of gestures. We just bend and branch the top piece in order to create this triangular garden that would allow, or opening that would allow the light to come all the way to the bottom. And on the bottom we also create a gap in order to extend the idea of the patio all the way down. So we this to that, and we also bend the two pieces, the two bars, one up, the other one down, in order to not also to allow for the natural light to come in, but also in order to extend the views from either this side or the other one. This is how the plan works, garage, and that patio also contains the whole circulation system. So from the garage you get to the kitchen, living room, or you move up, or you get here straight to the living room. If you go up, this is there. You go to, this is the suite, or you get here and you have 2 bedrooms facing the front. And this terrace that is located here belongs to the master suite. It was maybe, as I mentioned, maybe a month ago, And in terms of the facade, what we wanted to do in this case was to achieve all the way this idea of having like a heavy mass against the effect that we have inside, that is kind of minimal and minimum. We articulate all the movements of the fenestration according to the geometry of the pieces. At some moment, the mass itself embed in order to create this tridimensional effect. So it's like a kind of tattoo overimposed over the facade following the geometry lines. We have some problems in order to create that particular pleated wall. This picture is just 2 days before I came to New York. They were doing the finishing for the stair. In this case, we did a competition in Rosario for the College of Architects. That was 2 years ago. What we have to do was an extension of an existing building. I'm not going to go through the whole explanation. The program is really, really tricky. It's like a puzzle game. You have to put a lot of program with a lot of problems in a very tiny piece of land and connect it to an existing building. But we make, like, the first decision that we made was to create like a continuous connection in between the street and what we call like the social patio, no? Always referring back to the idea of the social space as a way to create a more dynamic interaction in society, and from there all the program unfolds. For the facade, we just propose this kind of tricky image, but we extend the lines of the existing facade, and we create like a concrete facade that at some moment bent in order to allow for natural ventilation, also to allow for views and interaction in between the avenue and the interior functions. So that's the way in which the facade works, and there's the connection to inside. That's the idea of the patio, the patio containing and being around the whole thing. This is a work that we are also doing right now. We are trying to finish it. This is really far from my city. That is 7-hour driving to the north. It's a really small city. We have this, but we did it anyway. We do work anywhere. We have this small and tiny lot, and we have to put like medical office and a kind of social quincho meeting room space. And I think the north, the first thing was, this is the footprint that you can do, like 50%, you can build 50%, so we decided to cover the front, leave like a patio inside. But on top of that, we did some movements in order to have or distinguish the idea on how you turn into the corner. We extract that piece in order to make a continuity between the street and the inside. We make some movement on the roof in order to lead the water where we wanted to lead it. So we organize, the program is very simple: medical office, lobby, and that social space, and the patio. But as the weather turned like really, really hot in there, like 115 degrees, we make some studies, or our commitment here, we make some studies about how to control that light with the really low price. So we made some research, and we discovered a company, a local company developing bricks made out of organic material that in a way doesn't turn too hot when the sun like catches it. So we make some mock-ups. I don't have pictures in here, but we make some local mock-ups. So we came with this idea of making 2 layers. One layer trying to filter in the light made out of the unit of the brick, and a second layer made out of glass just to have the freedom of open or not. So we make again this idea of like a overimposed tattoo over the facade in order to acquire more openings or less opening according to the function. So this is the plan, this is the way in which it's developed. Social space 2, the Kincho meeting room and local office. This is what we present to the client, and although he saw that, he decided to do it. We have a lot of problems trying to put this together. So this is the way in which it's being developed. You know, in here you may have like robotic things in the north where you don't have the labor or the craftsman. You have to figure out how to do it. So in order to achieve that effect over the facade, we drop line by line all the walls. So from the bottom to the top, this facade, and so on. And we talked to a local guy who said, yes, I can do it. So we made these 5 pieces that with different colors and different position of the brick. And basically he did it, and he did it well. So the whole shell for the building is made out of concrete, and then we wrap it up with the brick. That's the roof, and that's the way in which it start looking from outside. Still work in advance. I think it's going to be finished around April, something like that. And that's the way in which from inside is performed. That's another competition we did for the National Lottery of Buenos Aires. In this case, the program is again the massing that we have to deal with, basement, like the tower, and services. From the beginning, we decided that we want to have like an open space in here, just because, forgot to mention this is the Congress, and this is like one important plaza in Buenos Aires, and our site is located here. So we decided to make like a physical connection in between, again, the social space in here and the social space for the plaza. So we pull the tower up, we free that space in order to talk to the neighbors. As the neighbor get up here and get up there, we make that gain of subtraction. It's more or less the same that we did with the brick, but in here the unit is bigger and larger. So we have a continuation for the green space, that kind of green space for the building. So you have the library, and then you have the place where the lottery takes place. So you general public can get into that and see how does it work. And then for the rest is, as I mentioned before, now we play with some effect, lighting, special glazing for the curtain wall, but again, we have to decide this really fast and really quick. In 2 weeks or 3 weeks, we have to put together a presentation with almost, as I mentioned before, construction document that is usually the requirement. So here we jump into the projects that are located under mass. It's for the same client that we are doing the medical structure back in the north. This is in the center of the province. Again, footprint is almost always the same, 50%. So we decided that 50% would be in there. It's going to be split, and in that sense, would allow for all the rooms to have natural light and contact to an open space. And the same we did in the facade. Now we wanted to create what we wanted to create for the plan, kind of like a three-dimensional situation from top to down. The same we did for the facade. There is an extrusion of the facade inside, allowing for this opening to come, and those openings allowing for natural light to be embedded inside each space. This is the second largest, and this was the trickiest project that we have to deal with, because you enter in the world of housing in here, and you have to deal with, again, you have to deal in this, at this moment with real local developers who push you like a lot. This is something that we are right now building. Again, as we have a lot of expertise with the material, we decided to use concrete. This is the situation. Now we have this plot in here, 10 meters wide and 40 meters depth. That's the possible mass that you are allowed to do. This is what you get in the market, 4 units in each floor with the core in the center. But as we have a special situation, because we have a school in here, it's a historical building that it can be demolished. We took the situation. So we decided, structurally speaking, you usually divide this in three lines. So what we did was we create this kind of T-shape in order to allow for more surface to catch natural light, and that allowed us for increasing the height. So you are able to do that. So we move the core to that facade that is not facing anything. So we changed the typology by just by reading our context. We changed it and we achieved a better and more effective result. Floor by floor. So it's office space in the first 2 floors, 1 bedroom units in this floor, and 2 bedroom unit duplex in the last 2 floors. And of course you have the social space on top of that, that is the quincho. There was a setback for the top part. And in terms of mass, we understood that although these 2 guys, this side and the other side, are party walls, and you usually don't take care of the party wall, you just leave it as they are. It's a leftover in the construction. But we decided that was part of our facade too. We decided to take all these as just one piece, like a monocoque piece. Playing with the structure, we decided to have like openings, erasing the idea of the stacking floor by floor, one or the other, and also creating different views from inside the apartment. Now you have the horizontal view, kind of quiet, static view, and then you have some windows almost on the floor, facing the floor, that give you another effect or impression. Now you have the sensation of vertigo, you see people moving around, so it's quiet versus vertigo. This is under construction, and by taking the previous project, we used the volcanic because we wanted the monochromatic building. So it's 3 apartments, A, B, and C, 1 bedroom each. All of them, instead of having only one face looking out, they have like an angular face. We wanted like a monochromatic effect over the building, so we decided to use that gray brick in touch or in contact with the gray color of the concrete. So you read it from far, you read it as one single piece, heavy piece. Where again, you more or less have to trick yourself in order to understand the situation of where is each floor. We also left exposed concrete for the ceiling, and we did this kind of under relief for the framing. This is a competition we did a couple of years ago for, I'm okay with timing or we are almost there. Competition that we did in Dubai for Tyson is a regular like competition that usually is triggered. Here we did a lot of research and speculation about how like a tower with that the only problem that has is to try to achieve like views from the top would be. So after the research we decided to go for something as an experiment, no? like having a top piece being like a pentagonal piece wrapping all the way, each surface wrapping all the way down in order to create this kind of blanket situation where you have 2 or 3 different levels allowing for controlling the weather condition and also to allow for social interaction in different moments and different levels. We usually use this kind of exercise or competition in order to achieve or in order to test. We use it as a kind of platform in order to test some or to train ourselves about some new expertise or some new software, some new technique, etc. This was just released like a couple of months ago. There was a presentation in the submission for the Guggenheim Museum in Helsinki, and our work in here was even more speculative. This is the final result. This is the situation. Maybe some of you were part or sent some entries. You have a park and you have a lower part of the port. These belong to the port right now. So the feeling that you have here, you have like a lot of ships and crews coming into like here. So that's the real situation. And from the beginning, we knew that we wanted 2 things. One was to, with the building, try to achieve a connection in between the lower and the upper part of the city. And the other was to try to have like a heavy monocoque, homogeneous piece standing with kind of relationship, certain relationship with the ships, no? The idea of the chimneys. For that, we make a connection. It's a public connection going, this is the lower plan, you enter here, you have a system ramp that allows for this void to exist. And from the park, you just cross, you move around, you have an amphitheater just to look to the city, or if not, you just go out without entering into the private world of the museum. But at the same time, you have, in some ways, you have the situation of that you kind of interact with the world that is inside, with the people who is moving inside. And if you're part of the museum, you just move around a system of ramps that lead you all the way to the top, and then would allow you to come back over the public situation. We like the idea of the void because the void, in a way, that void in a way creates different views, different kind of situation, special situation, effects and affects, and also the idea of using 2 materials, the wood that was a requirement, and then the rest just stay as white as possible, as neutral as possible. And for the top of the each of them are the exhibition rooms. So that's the way in which this is assemblage. And for this, again, now we train ourselves. Let's see if it works. Okay, doesn't want to work. Anyway, but we came with this idea of creating this special unit that would, in order to capture the light, follow the light. This is the unit. It would open all the way or close all the way. So you have the way of controlling by photovoltaic control the light, how the light gets inside. Especially in a museum, you want to achieve that. This is a project that we did for a friend of mine. Those are all renderings, but what we want to achieve in here was the idea of, we were doing some essays at this university with this idea of the poché space, no? The space that is left not only for structure but also for service. For the house, the most interesting part was this idea of imploding the whole house inside, so there is no opening outside. And as an entrance, we have, again, we have this idea of like a semi-public patio. It's an open patio that lead you from the street in here, and from there you jump to the more like a private world. So all those kind of gaps and service space serve us as buffer spaces to mediate in between what is public and what is not public. And this is the last project I'm going to show. This is another competition we did in Rosario. It's for the library of the bicentenary of the country. It's located in a kind of plaza just in front of an existing Álvaro Siza building. The building in this way works like that. So there is a physical pedestrian connection, existing connection already in this way. So what we did, we performed some gestures. We came with an idea of the amount of mass that we have to achieve, more or less was the mass that we have in front. We pull it up in order to create this, or to reinforce the idea of the connection, all that is public. And there are two parts of this. All these belong to the public, so you have parking that is embedded underground. All these work as a plaza, there is a bar in here. So all this is a kind of public work. And from there, if you step into the library, green is more public, yellow is more private. You have a system of ramp that lead you all the way up from the open library to the more enclosed or more secure part of the library. Then you have the service and the mechanicals, the cores. And then again, we wanted to have some openings in order to create, again, like kind of gather space, like a patio, as we believe that the social space and the patio are again, are the main spaces articulating our social life. So I'm not going to go through the plans, but so this is the situation from the lobby. Again, now you have really always spaces where you have the situation of being in touch with inside and outside, with public, non-public, always the idea of having directional view, not only to to one direction, but multiple directions in order to achieve different effects. And as I mentioned before, the relationship with an open space as a social encounter space. We're supposed to have a video here, but seeing that it's not going to work. And as I start like this, I end like this. This is a picture of my office right now. As we are on holiday, we used to have a chorizo house as an office, and it didn't work because it was too many rooms and it was difficult to get in touch to each other. So we are adding one floor. We are making that kind of round stair in order to connect the lower and the upper part, and we are cleaning the whole structure by demolishing all the walls. We decided that on the first floor or the second floor we are going to have the office, and on the bottom we are going to cook some crystal in order to make some money. So we learned something from that. Thank you guys.
Will you take questions? Any questions? Or observations? Or anything? Yeah.
Okay, so I really admire your use of technology in bringing natural light into buildings. I think that's really impressive. But I'm just wondering, how's your thought process when you approach that? Is it all digital, or is it do you ever do any hand drawings, anything like that? Do you get what I mean?
We jump to one thing to the other, but again, no. Technology implies digital drawings and digital presentation, and we use a lot of we are totally into the world of digital world, sorry, but we still, when we want to communicate really quickly among all the people inside the office, we still do some sketching. So at some moment the process is hand drawing, and speculation is about hand, or we use like a board to make drawings, and at some other moment it's paperless, totally paperless. I was trained as a craftsman also. In my local university we didn't have any software back in 94, 93, so it's part of our process.
More? Yeah.
Thanks so much for the lecture.
Thank you so much.
I think remarkably clear body of work and relative to the themes that you introduce, say typology, geometry, into the envelope, I guess, and it persists, and again, very, very clear tectonic palettes change. I'm wondering, when you get to issues of the envelope, you're putting things into play. I guess I want to know how you play. Some of it is clearly based on, and you play in bricks and aluminum panels, your CNC mill. Some of it's clearly environmental, but I'd like to hear more about what the process is, I guess, what some of the goals are, which are in part purely aesthetic, it seems, in part environmental.
Some of them are strictly environmental. Some others are related to our local material. Now, concrete is the local material, and brick is the local material. It's the first material that you would choose, because the labor is cheap and it's trained to do that, back from our ancestors. I mean, I think that everybody knows how to kick a soccer ball in Argentina. Everybody knows how to put a brick and make it work. But yes, we constantly question that thing, and we usually try to rationalize it with the client, mainly because we have direct and real client. But when this becomes part of a more speculative work, as in a competition, we want to achieve something more, in a way, less dogmatic and more experimental in a way, as in the Guggenheim Museum.
had over on the right-hand side what looked like precedents. I saw San Andrea flash by really quick, and some others. And it was so quick that I couldn't quite. so that's okay.
I didn't want to spend more than 50 minutes. So.
Yeah, that's okay. But it struck me as really interesting because I think all of these questions have some interest in the way in which you process through projects. And so it struck me that maybe in an initial stage, one is also looking at key precedents, and they seem to be from many different time periods and locales. So I was just wondering, that's an observation really, right?
We usually, I mean, this is part of our platform in not only the office, as I mentioned before, we have the 3 legs. The clients is the further one, but the other 2 are really linked, and it's what we produce at the university as part of the research and part of the investigation, and what we produce in the office. We want that totally linked. So yes, this is part of our research or our present studies, but not only in the office, but also in the university. And it's the way in which, also it's a mechanism that sometimes I use as part of a way of understanding presence for students. I do it as an exercise for students.
Maybe I would ask a question, in a different way, because when you presented the projects, you presented competition and then a real project, and I mean, kind of back and forth, and it's sort of like the question I think earlier about hand drawing versus digital. Argentina is an incredibly interesting architectural culture. We have 600 students here. Rosario is a small school, and you have 2,000. Yeah, and the big school, University of Buenos Aires, has 10,000 students of architecture. Yeah, so and I know when you were studying as an undergraduate, many of the professional degree, obviously, many of the kind of techniques, as you said, everybody can brick, everybody can draw. The kind of precedents that Anne, I think, is asking for are just part of the education. They're part of the sea that you swim in. Then you obviously came to Los Angeles, and I would say, in a way, all of the competitions, all of the competition projects are from Los Angeles, and all of the houses and the built projects are from Guillermo Rosario. It's interesting because the competitions are places where you develop new ideas and techniques, and so the relationship between those, I think, is very interesting. I think it's also interesting to just contrast the kind of material studies and the kinds of design techniques in the competition versus so you could have almost given 2 completely different lectures.
Yep.
One on concrete, Rosario, the real projects that you've built, and the other the kind of more speculative projects. I'm curious, you know, in Argentina, as you said, are offices that are not really big corporate offices or offices that are trying to do something special or interesting are probably mostly small and medium-sized offices. How for you in that kind of office does that relationship between the research, the competitions, and the actual projects work? So, for example, when you have clients for, let's say, some of the commercial clients or some of the house clients, do you show them the competition projects? Do you talk about things with them like that? Or, because some of them saw the kind of...
We usually try to educate our clients.
Yeah.
And it's a hard work. They come to it's a really hard work, you know. I mean, if you are into the profession, you will know it. But it's something that we wanted to commit to. I mean, we are totally committed to that. We want to try to change things from the very traditional aspect of our background. We want to achieve something innovative, as I mentioned before. Not new, innovative.
Yeah.
We try to, in a way, shift what exists into a new direction.
I think the other part of that is very hard for us to appreciate because it's so difficult is you're using a lot of, let's say, software, a lot of digital speculative techniques, but you can't actually build with a lot of those in Argentina, because you were saying, so with a lot of these techniques you have to learn them yourselves, and then there's really no one who can actually manufacture these. There was one drawing where you said you hand drew what must have taken 100 hours, something that, yeah, so, but that must be a special kind of challenge to have the ambition to work in a digital platform, but also to only with the technologies available and widely in Argentina to have to work in that way. That must be quite complicated.
That's what the other part of our challenge is. Since we start working when I got back from Los Angeles in 2004, until now we create this, as I referred at the beginning, we create this kind of intelligent platform around the office. So we train not only the people inside the office, but also different companies and different workers in a way, in order to be able to deal with our techniques. What it seems to be like really easy here in the States to do, like perforation over the aluminum panel. In Rosario, it was nobody wanted to do it. We went to many factories and companies, and we spent like 3 months doing like mock-ups and testing and whatever. Finally, we figured it out, and then the company take advantage of that, try to use it. But in a way, that is our role, and that is, again, my challenge too, is try to, from what I get when I get here, and I am lucky to come here and to be mixed with, especially the American culture and the American education, is try to bring it back to Argentina and try to do something with that.
Yeah.
Personally, I would like to know more about the communication between the architect or the firm rather, yourself or other workers and other employees, and the client, and how, like, what's the greatest challenge you've ever been presented with like, as far as communication-wise, is you want to execute one of your ideas, but maybe the client isn't really getting it fully, and then how do you go from point A to point B in a professional manner?
We close the office, turn off the light. No, we usually have we have several meetings. The client is a personal social situation in Argentina. The client is different than in here. The client wants to talk to you. He doesn't want to talk to your guy. So I have to be there. And then we spend a lot of time. We bring the client to the office. Usually we bring it and we make a scenario. And we show all the possibilities over every strategy that we develop. And we try to pull the guy to whatever we want to pull. But it's, again, it's another level of education, but we are committed to it. It's not only into the university, but it's also into the society.
Thank you.
On that note, a little bit, when you're given a project or a commission, what's kind of the first step or kind of the schedule that your office goes through? Like, do you guys kind of present options to the client, or do you ask them what they're looking for, what they want, or how?
No, we usually filter our options. As I mentioned at the beginning too, it's like, I mean, I have guys working for me for almost 6-7 years already, most of them. They teach with me at the university, so we sit with the same problem and we try to come with, we do like a brainstorming, so we come with some possible solutions, and then we filter from them, like, depending on the client, we filter 1 or 2. If we are sure that it's only 1, we use that. If not, we get 2. We develop those 2, and we start the discussion with the client and see what we are going to do, what we are going to choose. Sorry for my English, sorry if I mistake some words. I hope you understood.
We understood. Okay, thank you, Guillermo.